It has proven to be Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investments. I mean, they've gone through various scandals with this girl.
If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what?
Smart.
Pay her a couple $1,000,000, go away. We're going to bring another person to play this role.
The Variety report being like, of course, what would you do when you have this narcissistic nightmare trying to ruin a film?
She has this underlying anger and hatred in her that always has to take it like one step too.
In what began as a promising casting decision by Disney, actress Rachel Zegler, known for her breakout performance in West Side Story, was selected to portray Snow White in the live-action remake of the 1937 animated classic.
This is Rachel Zegler, who Disney decided would be brilliant in casting because, as Rachel Zegler says, her millions of fans will line up no matter what she does to see her.
The announcement was met with mixed reactions, as Zegler's background and modern take on the character ignited discussions across the internet. While many saw the choice as an inspired leap toward inclusivity and modern representation, others questioned the deviation from the character's traditional portrayal, particularly the reference to her skin as white as snow, arguing that the essence of the original story was being fundamentally altered. Zegler's early interviews about the project, intended to explain the new creative direction, inadvertently lit a fuse that would lead to one of the most intense controversies in recent Disney history.
Look at this acting.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
As public opinion divided, an early promotional interview recorded by Variety sparked fierce backlash. Zegler's remarks most notably calling the 1937 Prince character a stalker and asserting that the new Snow White wouldn't be defined by a love story were clipped and shared widely across platforms like TikTok and Twitter.
I'd say that this is one of Disney's biggest regrets ever. I mean, I checked, we've discussed it before. I checked Rotten Tomatoes, and the score is even lower than the last time we talked.
These snippets, often stripped of context, fed a viral narrative that she was hostile to the source material. The internet reacted with hashtags like #NotMySnowWhite and #SnowWrong, fueling a social media firestorm that turned cultural opinion against her overnight. What began as a bold reimagining quickly evolved into a digital pylon. TikTok creators, YouTubers, and Twitter commentators added fuel to the fire by reframing her comments as an attack on traditional storytelling, creating content that blurred the lines between critique and mockery.
Other movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison. And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
Soon, what might have been dismissed as another Hollywood controversy snowballed into a cultural flashpoint, with political commentators joining the fray. Conservative pundits accused Disney of pushing a progressive agenda at the expense of beloved childhood stories, citing Zegler's interpretation as proof.
Uniquely unlikable, but then it is actually a terrible film as well. So it's the double whammy.
On the opposite side, progressive voices lauded her casting, emphasizing the importance of a Latina-coded princess for young viewers seeking to see themselves represented. This clash highlighted deeper tensions in American culture surrounding identity politics, legacy storytelling, and the evolving face of media. Suddenly, the debate over Snow White was no longer about film, it was about who gets to define cultural memory and how far reimagination can go before it's seen as erasure.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Media coverage further complicated the situation. Sound bites were extracted from longer interviews and repurposed into inflammatory headlines, painting Zegler as flippant or disrespectful. Phrases like "it's no longer 1937" were seized upon as dismissive of the original film's value, while Zegler attempted to clarify her statements. Context was often lost in a sea of hot takes and reaction videos.
The controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars.
This distortion of her message fed the perception that she was attacking the story's core values. Rather than offering a modern perspective, it became clear that in the age of viral outrage, nuance is often the first casualty. The line between authenticity and arrogance blurred, and any attempt to address the backlash was twisted into further evidence of Zegler's supposed unlikability.
A Latino actress as Snow White makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
As this narrative gained traction, Zegler's reputation began to suffer. Once celebrated for her natural talent and charisma, she was now labeled box office poison by some critics and commentators. Boycott campaigns gained momentum, and YouTubers known for outrage content capitalized on the controversy. Casting Zegler as the latest villain in Hollywood's culture war, the actress, who had been heralded as a rising star, suddenly found herself at the center of a debate that threatened to derail her career before the film had even premiered.
I think it was Peter Dinklage said, this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves.
This turn of events underscored a dangerous trend in digital culture. The transformation of public figures into lightning rods based on partial quotes and perceived tone, rather than full context or artistic merit.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
Inside Disney, the situation created a public relations nightmare, with internal analytics showing a decline in audience intent to view. Executives reportedly considered adjusting marketing strategies. One idea floated was leaning more heavily on co-star Gal Gadot's name recognition, while another involved emphasizing the film's visual spectacle over its cast. Contingency plans were quietly discussed, including the possibility of shifting the release to Disney Plus instead of a traditional theatrical run. Behind the scenes, the studio was forced to reckon with a harsh reality in today's climate. A single viral moment can jeopardize years of production and millions in investment. Yet amid the online chaos, there was a quieter story about Zegler's dedication to the craft. Crew members and colleagues described the professional who arrived early, stayed late, and went out of her way to support her team, even bringing pastries to set. Despite relentless scrutiny, she remained committed to bringing her best to the role, training extensively in dialect, music, and dance. Unfortunately, the warmth she brought to set never trended on Twitter. Instead, social media rewarded outrage over nuance, and her genuine passion for storytelling was overshadowed by the backlash.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
This saga revealed troubling patterns within the entertainment industry. Experts began using Zegler's experience as a cautionary tale in media training courses, warning other young stars of the dangers of unscripted authenticity in the digital age. What once made Zegler so appealing to directors like Spielberg, her openness, humor, and unfiltered candor, was now framed as liability. Crisis management firms began referencing her case in internal documents, and marketers dissected every misstep to understand how a PR spiral could grow so rapidly. The rules of celebrity had changed, and Zegler's story was proof that even the most promising careers could be derailed by a badly received quote. Meanwhile, speculation continued about the film itself. With no footage yet released to the public, fans relied on rumor, merchandise leaks, and cryptic promotional materials to form their opinions. Early trailers conspicuously excluded the prince, leading many to believe he had been written out entirely. The absence fed the belief that Zegler's comments had influenced the direction of the film, though insiders suggested that the narrative was still evolving during production. Dolls featuring Snow White with maps and satchels hinted at a more adventurous arc, while other toys included musical instruments suggesting a duet may remain in the final cut. These crumbs of content became fuel for fan theories, each layered with conflicting interpretations of Zegler's earlier interviews.
So can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all.
In the background of this controversy, Zegler continued to work on other projects, including The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds, and Snakes. There too, she faced skepticism, with longtime fans of the franchise wary of her portraying a character described as an anti-Katniss. Some feared that her association with one polarizing film would carry over to another, despite the difference in tone and story. Calls to boycott her projects became louder, revealing how interconnected public perception has become across different fandoms. Zegler found herself navigating multiple PR battles simultaneously, a rare challenge for someone so early in their career. Despite all this, Zegler remained visible during Hollywood's 2023 labor strikes, marching alongside fellow actors and speaking about the need for fair compensation. When asked about streaming residuals, her answer meant to highlight labor conditions was clipped mid-sentence and reframed as a diva-like demand. This now familiar pattern once again took shape, a sincere comment, reshaped by the internet into ammunition against her. Public sentiment continued to shift with each new headline, proving how easy it is to villainize a person based on selective storytelling. Still, her union participation won praise from insiders, who viewed her as principled and engaged, even if that didn't show up in trending hashtags. In the final days leading up to the premiere, audience anticipation remained mixed. Some fans, fatigued by months of online debate, just wanted to judge the film for themselves. Others pledged to avoid it out of loyalty to the original or distaste for the new direction. Analysts mapped potential outcomes, from a flop driven by a backlash to a surprise hit propelled by curiosity. Whichever result came to pass, one thing was certain: Rachel Zegler's experience had become a symbol of the modern celebrity tightrope, where a single sentence can elevate or undo years of preparation. As posters lined theater walls, an orchestra, music filled darkened auditoriums, Zegler braced herself for what came next. The movie would speak for itself, whether audiences accepted or rejected it. Her journey stood as a powerful reminder of the tension between innovation and nostalgia, voice and silence, artistry and audience expectation.